Hey guys, how are y'all doing? How's your day going? And if you're just touching, how's your night? Hope you had or are having an amazing and a beautiful day. For those of you who don't know this yet, my name is Praise and you're currently tuned into Creepypasta with Praise. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, follow, comment, tweet, and do whatever interaction you need to do to feed the algorithm. But yeah, without further ado, today we're going to be covering a very special type of case. This case is parents against children. Two boys murder their parents. The mystery of the murder is not really the main part of the story. We're going to jump into that shortly. But yeah, if you are a fan of true crime, creepypastas, or anything spooky or scary, this is the community for you. So feel free to interact. And yeah, let's just jump in, shall we? Are you tired of scrolling through endless options on your streaming services only to find nothing worth watching? Well, look no further than Amazon Prime Video. With a wide selection of movies, TV shows, and original content, Prime Video has something for everyone. And the best part, you can try it out for free. Yeah, that's right. Amazon Prime Video is offering a free trial for new subscribers. With this trial, you can enjoy all the benefits of Prime Video, including ad-free streaming, unlimited access to thousands of movies, TV shows, and the ability to download content for offline viewing. You also don't need to worry about your password being changed in the next 30 days or you getting logged out of your services. So why not give it a shot? Sign up today for the free trial of Amazon Prime Video and start watching your favorite shows, movies, documentaries without interruption. Just visit the link that I'm going to leave in the description below or on the screen if you are watching the video version. Don't miss out this amazing opportunity. Thank you for doing that, and let's head back into the video. Alright, so today we're going to take a closer look at the Menendez. Hopefully that's pronunciation. We're going to take a closer look at the Menendez family. Jose Menendez was born in Havana, Cuba on May 6, 1944. At the age of 16, he moved to the United States and attended Southern Illinois University later on, where he met Mary Louise Anderson, also known as Kitty, who was born in Oak Park, Illinois in 1941. They got married in 1963 and moved to New York City after Jose obtained his law degree from the University of Buffalo. He went on to work as a corporate executive for various companies, including Hertz and Life Entertainment, and before becoming a successful entertainment executive, they were very financially stable. Because we'll just get into that. But rumor even has it that he had worked with Michael Jackson. I don't know, I didn't really find anything to confirm that. But yeah, in 1968, Joseph Lyle Menendez was born, and Mary, as at that time, was working as a teacher, but she later on quit her job to become a full-time stay-at-home mom. And yeah, the whole family then moved to New Jersey, where Erik was born on November 27, 1970. So as children, Erik and Lyle were reportedly close and had a competitive relationship, particularly in sports. They both excelled in tennis and were trained by a professional coach, hoping that one day they would become professional players. However, as they grew older, their interests diverged, and Lyle developed interest in filmmaking, while Erik became more interested in music and playing the guitar. In the summer of 1976, Diane Vander Moe came to stay with them. That's one of their cousins. Within this period, Lyle had confided in her, saying he was being sexually abused by his dad, and she told his mom, but she sided with her husband, calling Lyle a liar. That matches. In 1986, Jose had gotten a job as a corporate executive at International Video Entertainment, located in California, so the whole family moved there. Erik was in high school at Beverly Hills High School, while Lyle was at Princeton University, but he would later get suspended from the school for a year due to plagiarism. Erik, on the other hand, had started associating with the wrong friends, which got him in trouble for things like burglary. As we'll see in future episodes, the Menendez family would go on to experience even more significant challenges and would capture the attention of the world. So yeah, let's jump into the crime, the reason why we are in this video today. On August 20th, 1989, Erik and Lyle had walked in on their parents, who were in the den of their Beverly Hills mansion carrying shotguns. Jose was shot a total of 6 times. He was shot in the back of the head and around his body. Kitty was shot 10 times. She was shot in the arm, chest, and face before the fatal shot to her cheek. She was on the ground, slowly crawling and moaning, and it was at this was like a close range. So it's like they call it a crime of passion. After murdering their parents, Erik and Lyle Menendez attempted to stage the scene as a botched robbery. They threw their shotguns in a nearby dumpster and went out to a movie, hoping to establish an alibi. When they returned home, they called 911 to report their parents had been shot. During the call, in the background, you could hear Erik crying and saying, "Someone killed my parents." The brothers were initially considered suspects in the case, as every relations to close ones in any murder, like if a wife is dead or goes missing, the husband is the suspect. If the husband is dead or goes missing, the wife is the suspect. It's always like that. The close relations are always the first suspect. So they were considered as suspects, but they wouldn't get arrested until 6 months after the murder, after a lot of evidence started emerging that linked them to the crime. After the murders of their parents, Erik and Lyle Menendez continued to live their lives as usual. For the most part, they attempted to carry out with their regular routines, such as going to school, socializing with friends. The brothers spent a considerable amount of time of their parents' money on various luxurious items, including cars, watches, and expensive trips. They also used some of the money to pay off debts and invest in businesses, which I think one of them bought I think 2 or 3 restaurants. So they didn't just squander everything, I guess. They collectively spent approximately $700,000 before their arrest. So within 6 months they had gone through, during this time, Erik and Lyle appeared to be dealing with the aftermath of the murders differently. Erik reportedly struggled with depression and anxiety and became increasingly reliant on alcohol and drugs. Lyle, on the other hand, had appeared to be more in control and was able to maintain his composure. During the investigation into the murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez, police initially considered the possibility that the crime was committed by professional hitmen or intruders. However, as they began to examine the evidence more closely, they discovered several inconsistencies in the brothers' story. Investigators also discovered that Erik and Lyle had spent large sum of money on luxurious items in the months following their parents' murders. This raised suspicions about their potential involvement in the crime, particularly since they had previously expressed concerns about their parents' control over their inheritance. As the investigations continued, detectives interviewed Erik and Lyle multiple times. During these interviews, the brothers' stories began to change, and they provided inconsistent and conflicting information about the movements on the night of the murder. In addition to inconsistencies to their stories, investigators also found physical evidence that linked them to the crime. They discovered shotgun shells at the scene of the crime that matched the type of ammunition found in the Menendez family's home. They also found gunshot residue on the brothers' clothing, which, let's talk about this gunshot residue. I have never used the gun, so I don't know how it works, but I think that's one of the craziest stuff. So as long as you shoot a gun, it's going to be with you for couple months, if not years, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. I think that's actually neat. We should just implement that kind of stuff into so many other things. It's really going to save us from a lot of stuff, to be honest. Well, yeah, despite their attempts to cover up the crime, the Menendez brothers' story began to unravel when they confided in friends about their involvement in the murders, which is one grave mistake that every single person makes. Not every single. There are serial killers who actually took it to their graves. But mostly you they'll either want to talk out of pride. They are so proud of what they did, so they want to boast to people, or their conscience is judging them, so they'll start if you I'm not even going to enter before they'll come and arrest me for colliding with murder or something. But seriously, if you did something and you're trying to run away with it, don't trust anybody in this world. How you can start talking to people? Don't even talk to yourself about it. You did it, forget about it. In an attempt to get confession from Erik, the police arranged for his friend Craig to wear a wire during a lunch with Erik. But when Craig had asked whether he killed his parents, he denied it, which you should. You shouldn't be, talking, because you don't know who is working with the police. Erik eventually confessed to his psychologist, Jerome, when who then told his mistress. She later broke up with him and told the police about the brothers' involvement. Lyle was arrested on the 8th of March 1990, and Erik turned himself in 3 days later after returning to Los Angeles from Israel. Both were held without bail and kept separate from each other. This was obviously, like I said earlier, 6 months after the murders. So the Judge James Albrush. Judge James initially ruled out the admission of the tapes into evidence. That is the tape that the psychiatry turned in. He initially he ruled it out the admission of he ruled it out as like it cannot be used as evidence during the trials, although the defense had argued that the tapes were protected by attorney-client privilege, and the doctor-client privilege, what do you call it, like wherever we talk about in our session, it's supposed to be kept between both of us. I didn't know, is that legally bounding though? So if it had been recorded during their therapy session with the brother psychologist, so they couldn't use it because it went against the privilege. However, during the second trial, the judge changed his ruling and allowed the tapes to be admitted as evidence. The prosecution had urged the tapes were not protected by that privilege because the doctor was acting as a therapeutic role, but instead wasn't acting as a therapeutic role, but was aiding the brothers to cover up the murder. I don't know how. I mean, if he was trying to help them cover it, or maybe it's because he didn't turn it in. Yeah, actually, I could initially, when I was reading the case, I was like, that how can they say that? Like, how is he helping them cover it up? But then again, he wasn't the one who turned them into the police. It was his girlfriend, his mistress, that turned them in. So technically, yeah, but you know what? The tapes ultimately played a significant role in the case as they contained audio recordings of the brothers confessing to the murder. What is wrong with me today? I'm not speaking well. Confessing to the murders. In the recording, the brothers discussed their motive for the crime and provided details about how they had carried it out. The admission of the tapes as evidence was a crucial factor in the brothers' eventual conviction. The trial of Erik and Lyle Menendez was like a huge case everywhere, and it was very controversial also. We'll get into the controversies at the ending of the podcast. It lasted for 6 months also, so like they just running on number 6. The prosecution urged that the brothers had planned and carried out the murders for financial gain, while the defense argued that the brothers had acted in self-defense after years of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse at the hands of their parents. Prosecutions presented a significant amount of physical evidence, including the shotgun shells found at the scene of the crime that matched the type of ammunition found in the family's home, as well as gunshot residues on the brothers' clothing. They also brought in the tape recording, and they presented evidence of the brothers' spending habits following the murder, arguing that this was evidence of their motive for the crime. The defense, on the other hand, presented testimony from witnesses, most of whom were family witnesses, who claimed that the brothers had been abused by their parents for years. They also testified that their father threatened to kill them if they did not keep the abuse a secret. So they argued that the brothers had acted out of fear for their lives, and they had believed their parents were actually going to kill them. The trial ended with 2 deadlock juries, that is, like, it was a hung jury, and as a result, it was announced immediately that the brothers would be retried. The second trial in 1995 was somewhat less publicized, as the judge didn't want to allow cameras into the courtroom. During the second trial, the prosecutions presented much of the same evidence that they had presented in the first trial, including physical evidence linking the brothers to the crime, as well as evidence of their spending habits for the murders. The judge had limited testimony about the sexual abuse claims made by the defense. He ruled that the evidence of the alleged abuse could only be presented if it directly affected or related to the brother's state of mind as at the time of the murders. Additionally, the judge did not allow the jury to consider lesser charges of voluntary or involuntary manslaughter as the defense had requested. The defense argued that the brothers had acted in self-defense and they had no intent to kill their parents, but rather had acted out of fear of their own lives. However, the judge ruled that there was insufficient evidence to support a charge of manslaughter, and that the evidence suggested that the brothers had planned and carried out the murder with intent to kill. Both brothers were eventually convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. In the penalty phase of the trial, they were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and the death penalty wasn't given since they had no prior criminal records to date. So on July 2nd, 1996, the judge has sentenced the brothers to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Why doesn't that sound correct? Parole. And also sentenced them to consecutive sentences for the killings and the charges of conspiracy to commit murder. Erik and Lyle Menendez are currently serving life sentences without the possibility of parole for the. Why is that word not sounding right? Parole. For the murders of their parents. They were initially sent to separate California state prisons, but in 2018 they were both transferred to the same facility, the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego County. While in prison, the Menendez brothers have had limited contact with the outside world, and their lives are highly regimented. They are required to adhere to a strict schedule and rules, and they are only allowed limited access to visitors, including family members and attorneys. The brothers have reportedly struggled to adjust to the life in prison, with Erik in particular experiencing difficulties with his depression and anxiety. They have both been involved in various activities while in prison, including earning college degrees and participating in musical and theatrical production. Which, let me just take a quick break and just put it out there. I don't want to get cancelled or anything, but what are your individual takes on prison rehabilitation? Do you think it's like it makes sense to like be spending money or be like giving them, according to what they say, an opportunity to go out into the real world? Like, okay, for example, take someone who has a license. Maybe if someone who did like a light crime and is going to be there for a couple years, especially kids, younger people, I'm okay with that, depending on the crime. But like when someone is being sent to life imprisonment, what skills do they need to learn? I mean, unless you are sending them to prison with hopes that they will get out, then just give them parole. But when you send them and you limit that, why do you still give them the opportunity to train for skills when officially they are supposed to remain in prison for the rest of their life? I don't know. I'm just, what is your own take? Maybe there's something I'm not looking into. I mean, I'm not aware fully of everything, but maybe there's a particular side of the story I'm not seeing. So what is your opinion on prison rehabilitation? Despite their imprisonment, the Menendez brothers have continued to receive media attention, with several documentaries and television specials being produced about their cases. And if you're interested, I can leave a link of some documentaries you can go and watch if you want to. They have also become a subject of ongoing debate, with some arguing that they were victims of abuse who should also receive more lenient sentences, while others believe that they are dangerous criminals who should remain in prison for the rest of their lives. So from like these few things, do you think, it's never really easy to prove sexual abuse unless you have like assault and all these other stuffs as witness? But like when it's like a childhood abuse and it's like multiple years after and they're coming up with, especially when it's a dead person, it's hard to prove whether or not they were actually abused. And like they'll always say, don't like doubt the victim, but don't only hear the side of the victim's story. So from your own take, do you think that the guys are lying? Do you think this was a murder for financial gain, or do you think it was actually out of fear for their own life? Because I mean, some of their members of their families, like if you go and watch the documentaries, some of the members of their family are siding with the children. So you never really know, do you? So the brothers have appealed their convictions and sentences multiple times over the years, but all their appeals have been denied. In 1996, the brothers filed a direct appeal arguing that their constitutional rights have been violated during the trial. Specifically, they argued that their Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial has been violated by the admission of the tapes containing their confessions to the psychiatrist Dr. Jerome, as well as their exclusion of evidence related to the alleged abuse they suffered at the hands of their parents. However, the court denied their appeal, ruling that their constitutional rights had not been violated and the evidence against them was overwhelming. In 2003, the brothers filed another appeal, this time arguing that they had received ineffective assistance of their counsel during the trial. They claimed that their defense attorneys had failed to adequately investigate and present evidence of the alleged abuse they had suffered, as well as other factors that could have supported a lesser charge. However, this appeal was also denied. In 2018, the brothers filed yet another appeal, this time arguing that they should be granted a new trial based on changes to California law regarding the admissibility of expert testimonies on eyewitness identification. However, this appeal was also denied by California Supreme Court in 2020. And so after their conviction, both Erik and Lyle Menendez both got married while serving their life sentences in prison. Erik got married to Tamai Sakoman, a former model, in 1999. The couple had corresponded for several years before getting married, and their relationship had initially begun as a friendship. She then became a strong supporter of Erik. She has spoken publicly about her belief in his innocence. She has also worked with him to publish a book. The name of the book is The Best Defense, which argues that the brothers were wrongly convicted. Lyle, on the other hand, got married to Rebecca Sneed, a magazine editor, in 2003. The couple had also corresponded for several years before getting married. She keeps a she keeps a low profile and has not spoken publicly about the case yet. Which I think I was watching someone's video the other day where the person was talking about like all these people who fall in love with criminals. How do people like all the people that like you didn't know anyone? Like I feel maybe it'll be one thing if you knew someone before they got arrested and then you married them while they're getting arrested. Which I mean, if you get arrested, especially when you're getting like sentences, well, I'll like tie myself to something like that. Well, like all these people who you didn't know yourselves outside, you've met yourselves as person was arrested and then you decide to get married to person. How do you all do that? You know, both Erik and Lyle have also given interviews from prison in which they have discussed their lives and the murders. In these interviews, they have maintained their claim to abuse and argued that they acted in self-defense. In a 2017 interview with ABC News, Erik Menendez said that he regretted the murders and that he wished he could take them back. He also talked about his relationship with his wife and his hopes for the future, including the possibility of a new trial. I mean, I was seeing somewhere they say that they have like exhausted the amount of times they could appeal for trial. I don't really know if that is a thing, but I saw somewhere an article wrote that like they can't. Lyle Menendez has given fewer interviews than his brother, but in 2018 interview in the NBC News, he also maintained his claim of abuse and argued that he had acted out of fear for his life. He also talked about his relationship with his wife and life in prison. So yeah, that is basically the case. So let me know what your opinion is on this case. Were they wrongfully charged? I mean, obviously they are guilty, but was it actually first degree murder or was it manslaughter? What do you think? Do you think their claims to abuse are legit? Just let me know in the description or in the comments below. Thank you for listening to this episode, and don't forget to sign up for a free trial of Amazon Prime Video to watch some great true crime documentaries and shows. That's all for now, but the story never truly ends. Keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your heart compassionate. Until next time, this is Praise signing off.